Shavua Tov. We are continuing on with our study of Daf Yomi. We are in Daf Tzadi Amud Aleph. By Rami Bar Chama, Shtei Amot Begad Ushtei Amot Ba'amud Mahu. So, what would be the case if you walked 2 amot while you were on a roof, and 2 of those amot were on a pillar? What would the status be? Amaraba, my Kamabaile. Harmalit or Reshut Hayachid Kamabaile, is he really asking about the difference between a Reshut Hayachid and a Carmelit? So of course this is problematic. Rami Bar Chama Agav Chorpe Lo Ayin Ba. Rami Bar Chama, because he was very sharp, so he simply gave the case without fully formulating what he meant. Elahachi Kamabaile. Shtei Amot. Now he meant to say, what's if you're talking about 2 amot on a roof and 2 amot in an achsadra, meaning in a portico. So that would be the slanted roof structure we have in diagram 25. That was the question, right? Because those are both considered to be Reshut Yachid on top of it. So Miyamrinan Kevan low high chaziladira, chad Reshutahi. So do you say that since the roof is where people can actually, use and people can live in, whereas the chadra is not, so therefore we say it's considered to be one unified reshut between the roof and the top of the portico? Or do we say they're going from the roof of, even though one is a roof and one is the the roof of the portico, so they're not really the same type of roof, so you say they're different. But even though they're different, you'd say that because it looks similar to you go from roof to roof, therefore it's also forbidden. So that's the question. So Bay or Bibi Bar Baye. Shteimot Begag or Shteimot Bechor B'Mahu. So the question is, what if you have 2 amot on a roof and 2 amot on an abandoned building? Or abandoned ruined building, what's the case? So again, that'll be case number 27 down here. So Amar of Kahana, Lav Hainu Drama Bar Chama. So Rav Kahana says, is it the same as we just said about the case with Al-Sadr before? Amar Rabibi and Bar Abaye, L'chi Me'achar At'ai L'Nitza'ai. So, right, so Rabibi says, wait, are you just here to make to make an argument, like to pick a fight? What's the story here? No, you can't compare the two because you can't properly live inside of a portico, but you could inside of the currently abandoned ruin. Like it is, again, it's not the safest, not the sturdiest, but again, you can still live in it because it still has sufficient amounts of structure left. So, well, if you're saying that it's worth that you can live there, then what's the problem? If you want to, you can't live in the chadra, in the portico, right? So then, how else do you say that you're allowed to live in the ruin? Or do you say that the difference here is that the korba could become a royal deer, it just needs people to live in it. So again, so we say that they're similar or not, take it. We don't know. So it remains unresolved, and that's that. So Gagin Hashavin Larry Meir, Gag Yachidi Larry Banan. So when in regards to level roofs, according to Meir, or according to within a individual roof, according to the Chachamim from our Mishnah. So Rav Amar Mutal Taltu Bukula, Ushmul Omar Ematal Tumbo El Arbamo. So Rav says you can carry in the whole area, and Shmuel says you only have Arbamo. So now the question is, Rav Amar Mutal Taltu Bukula, Kashin Rav and Rav. What do you mean that Rav says you can carry the whole way? Didn't we say earlier he can only carry for 4 amot according to Rav's opinion? It's for the Shmuel that you carry in the whole roof. So no, we say Hata Minkara Mechitzta, Hachalog Minkara Mechitzta. No, the case where you carry the whole way is if you can notice, if you can tell where the walls are. And here you can't tell where there are walls. Right, so that's the difference. Right, whether or not there are walls surrounding the roof, you can notice that they're there or not. So Shmuel Amar Ematal Tumbo Amar Kasha Shmuel Shmuel. Wait, there's no problem because Shmuel says that Another case previously at yesterday's app said that you could carry the whole area. So why is he only saying 4 amot now? So what's the answer? Hatam lo halim yuner beit satayim. There, the total area encompassed was less than 2 sa'ah. Hacha halim yuner beit satayim. And here, there in the area, the roof is much larger. Mahani mechitza lamata vidan, lamala lo vidan, and there are walls below, but no walls above. And therefore it becomes a karpah, meaning an enclosed area that is larger than 2 sa'ah, and then 2 BAYT sa'ah, and it is not considered to be hukaf l'dira. It is not fit to be lived in because there are no walls around it. The whole karpah, if you turn it at times, hukaf l'dira, and therefore, since this is an enclosed area which is larger than 2 BAYT sa'ah, and it is not fenced in, therefore, and for people to live in and use, therefore you can't carry more than daled amot. Okay, so Itmar gets now, so new section. So Sfina, so talking about the case. What about regards to a large ship? What is its status? So Rav Amar. So now, related to what we mentioned before about the can you carry in the whole entirety of the closed area, we're talking about a boat. So Rav says you can carry in the entirety of the boat, but Shmuel says you can only carry for 4 amot. So Rav Amar So Rav says that you're allowed to carry in the whole boat because there are walls surrounding around your boat. Okay, moving on to Tzadei Mubet. Right, there's our nice boat there. Shmuel says no, you can only get 4 amot because the walls aren't there to serve the normal function of walls. Those walls are just there to keep the water out. Therefore, they're not considered to be valid for the purposes of walls for Eruvin. Amar le Rav Chia bar Yosef Shmuel. So Rav Chia bar Yosef Shmuel. Hilchot kvatach or hilchot karav. Rav Chia asked, well, is halacha like you, or the halacha like Rav? And Amar le hilchot like Rav. And Shmuel said the halacha is like Rav. So Amar Rav Gidol Amar Rav Chia bar Yosef. So Rav Gidol said the name of Rav Chia, the son of Yosef. Mod Rav she'im kfa'a al pia she'im etaltlin ba el arba amo. So, right, so Rav Gidol told said the name of Rav Chia bar Yosef that Rav would agree in the case where you flip the boat over upside down that you can only carry for 4 amot. Fa'av l'mai. Wait, so why flipping it over? If you say that you're supposed to live on top of it, then I mean you jump that out so you can live in the area below like that and use that at the bottom of the boat as your roof. So how is it different from the roof of an individual house? It should be perfectly fine to carry that. So no, the answer is he didn't flip it over because he planned on living in an upside down boat. He flipped it over because he was going to finish retarring the bottom of the boat. And that's why it's flipped over, and therefore that's why you're not supposed to be carrying on top of the boat in its current state. Okay, Rav Ashi matni la'asfina, Rav Acha brei derava matni la'asadr. So the whole mahal we had before between Rav and Shmuel. So Rav Ashi says it's talking about a boat, whereas Rav Acha says that the machloka was in regards to an asadra to the portico, to Yitmar. Asadra bikmo, it's mentioned elsewhere. What's the status of an asadra, a portico in a valley? We have a picture of this. Here we go. Asadra bikmo. Okay. Right. So that's when we have our nice portico, but it's in between. Right, but it's located in the valley. So here's a picture of the portico. We'll pretend that's currently inside of a valley. So that's where our question is. So. Right, so Rav Amar Mutal Talta Bakula, and Rav said you're allowed to carry the entirety of the Asadra. Shmuel Amar Emataltamba El Arba'amot, and there Shmuel says you can only carry Arba'amot. Rav Amar Mutal Talta Bakula, why is Rav allowed to carry the entirety of the Asadra? Amrinan Pitikar Yorvin Sotem. You allow the edges of the Asadra to come down and seal off the area beneath it. Shmuel Amar Emataltamba El Arba'amot, Lo Amrinan Pitikar Yorvin Sotem. whether Shmuel you carry there because he does not say that the walls would then come down to seal off the area underneath the achsadra. The Rav Elibed Meir Latalto Megal Chatzer. So is Rav following Rabbi Meir's opinion? In which case you could carry from the roof to the courtyard. There Mishum Rav Yitzchak Bardimi. No, because you can't because of the opinion of Rav Yitzchak Bardimi that we're worried that you'll end up getting confused between this area and that of Rishut Rabim, and you'll end up accidentally carrying from between locations between Rishut Yaskin and Rishut Rabim will look similar. So even though technically it should not be forbidden, we will forbid it because we're worried about you being confused and actually violating the proper Isser Deraita. Shmuel Alibah Derabanan and Talta Megal Carpet. Shmuel holds according, assuming he holds according to Chaim, and therefore you should be able to carry from a roof to an enclosed area of the carpet. So Amar Rav Bar Ula Gezerah Shema Yipachetagah. No, so Rav Ula says no. The problem is the reason why you can't is because there's always a worry that maybe you'll end up the roof will become less than 2 BAYT, and therefore it'll become a shuk yachid, and then it'll become a problem. Therefore, you're not supposed to carry between the roof and the carpet. Ihachi mikarpet the carpet. You're not going to look at if so, you can't carry between one enclosure and another enclosure ever. So maybe it'll become it'll end up becoming smaller, and then you'll start carrying from one to another one, and then now you'll move from a Rishut Yachid to a Carmelis, which is Aser. So hatam imipchat min kara lemelta hacha imipchat lo min kara melta. No, the difference is that with the enclosures on the ground, it's pretty obvious to tell when it gets smaller because you can see all the walls. On the other hand, with the roof, because you can't see the walls as clearly because again the walls of the roof are made up of the walls below it. Therefore, you can't tell it so well, and therefore we're more machmir because you might not notice that the area has become an area that'll make you chayav now. Okay, and so again, just to do a quick pictorial sum of what we covered today. So we covered the case of moving between different types of roofs. Between Rishut Yachid and Carmelis, and we discussed whether or not that's a problem or not. And we said it comes down to the question of which one is considered Rola Dira versus not Rola Dira, as well as we discussed the case of whether or not there being a maximal size for the roof, of it once being more than 2 BAYT south being a problem. It's the case with a boat, and the difference between whether or not you're Rav and Shmuel. Rav says that the walls of the boat count as walls, where Shmuel says they don't, because the walls aren't there to be served as the wall function, they're there to keep the water out. And then we said that you overturn the boat. That's the current case here. That's definitely the case where you can't really use the going up the side of the boat because that part of the boat is not really meant for living. That's just a temporary fix. Therefore, you're not allowed to carry and use that as if it's on an area. We similarly discussed the case of an enclosure and how according to Rav, the walls will go down and particularly over Soten. So the roof, we say that we fill the walls. If the Achsadra is located in a Carmelit, if it's in a right, then it would still work for function as walls. And we also discussed the case of our worry about the size of the walls changing, and we say that there's a difference between the case of the walls with the roof, which you might not notice that if the roof, part of the roof fell down, or that it's somebody decided to do some construction. Now it's a little small, you might not have noticed. Whereas we have here in diagram 35 the case of the 2 different enclosures, the carpets, that if somebody removed the wall and made them smaller, you'd have noticed because the walls are much more easy to see when you were on the ground than when you were on a roof.